2023 to be a year of significant declines in inflation, and it's actually our job to make sure that that's the case. But I would tell you that
welcome to Financial Stockholm. Today is Monday, February 20th, 2023, and hope the weekend was good for you. We've had a relatively quiet weekend, not so many explosions. We've had a few shootings. We've had another one in Trelleborg and so forth, but really we had a quiet weekend. And we see that our political parties are engulfed in their own scandals. There's been a number of the Social Democrats, and there's been a number of the lefties, the communists that have been involved heavily with gangs and renting locations with them and profiting from them. And then of course, you've had the right-wing extremists where they've been involved with their neo-Nazi rhetoric and so forth. So it's but I mean, that's really kind of a problem of where we are today. It's very similar to the story of Hercules, where you have a hero that's a failed hero and has done terrible things, and how do you have this person continue as a hero? If you look at the what leads to the trials of Hercules, it's the fact that he kills his wife and children. And this is not somebody who should be a hero, but it's blamed on the madness brought onto him by Hera. So it's very similar to what we're seeing in politics and what we're seeing in general in society, with these people who are being promoted for us to view as heroes. They all have their flaws, and some have very, very serious flaws. And we're at a unusual time in society. So you have these people who were involved with gangs, and then you have agreements being broken, and the question of who is fit to lead and who is not. But I think more importantly, if we focus on real issues, we had inflation figures out today. So we saw a drop from 12.3% in inflation down to 11.7. Now everybody's very proud of the drop in inflation, and they're very kind of like excited about this. But remember, the target for inflation is 2%. It's pretty much a global target, and so we're very far away from that. So we're going to need a lot of rate hikes, and by a lot I mean anywhere from 150 to 200 basis points, at least. And we're going to see rate hikes, in my opinion, until the end of the year. Because if you're looking at the food cost, things like cheese are up 30%. But you saw the electricity price come down something like 27.4% in a month. Now, that's largely due to the fantastic weather that we've had. And by fantastic, we've had enough of the weather in the northern parts where you had a cold, so you could go on a ski vacation and not travel all the way to the Swiss Alps. Or down here in the south, you've had a warm enough weather where you did not have to worry about the high electricity cost to heat your home. We still have a lot of businesses that run a lot of electricity, and now this week is the week for our electricity payments. For the support that the governments have negotiated for us. And if you think about this, this is the insanity of how the EU is doing business. So in Sweden, we produce more electricity than we use. We produce something like 1.5 terawatts. We only need 0.8. And if you think about that, that means we're producing roughly just under double the amount that we need. Then what we're doing is we're selling our electricity to Europe, okay? And then we're buying it back at the price of the market. Now, this is like a farmer who sells his food to the supermarket, okay? And then buys from the supermarket instead of keeping a percentage of the food for himself, because he's already paid for it, right? So he's already paid to grow and raise the food, whether it's the vegetables, if it's the animals or the eggs or the chickens. He's buying it instead from the market. And that's the insanity of our electricity pricing here in Europe. So Sweden, which is producing more than it needs, is now paying to buy it back at the market price, which is significantly higher. And on top of this, we've paid so much that the European governments have negotiated a payback from the utility companies to the consumers. And so the Swedish consumer is getting back a percentage from the time from October to December last year. They're looking at the pricing and going to get money back into their account. And they had to register their account, and they had to do this through an insurance account that the government holds, and you have to register that through one of the Swedish banks, the one that's been hit with the most corruption, that's Swedbank. A little ironic that the government would use this bank. It's not using SEB, it's not using Handelsbanken, it's not using Nordea, which it used to own a large percentage of. It's using Swedbank, which has had the most problems with corruption. Their CEO, former CEO, was recently on trial. She didn't get charged with anything, oddly enough, because the former or the chairman of the bank is the former prime minister, Göran Persson. So go figure there. But we're in a scenario where we're about to get the money from the government after overpaying for the electricity, and we're going to continue paying more on electricity because Sweden missed the deadline to file for the 180 euro max price for the kilowatt hours. And our energy and enterprise minister, Ebba Busch, said that that is the fault of the finance minister. And so the finance minister, who is from the Liberal Party, did not file on time to get that for the Swedish consumer. So that's an unfortunate event for us here in Sweden, but it's something we'll have to live with. And something else we'll also have to live with is the current state of affair with Ukraine. So after our prime minister was there last week and discussing the eventual rebuilding of Ukraine, this is a positive. I think we're moving closer towards this. Joe Biden was there over the weekend. He's arrived and he's there today, and he's talking to Zelensky, and the support for Zelensky, and not to worry about their government employees because their pensions are going to be guaranteed. Meanwhile, the U.S. economy is struggling with its own debt ceiling and is struggling with its Social Security, of what the payouts will be. And now they have to increase the payouts in the Social Security right now, but that's due to the inflation. Okay. So the United States, which has not had as high inflation as we have here in Sweden, nor in Europe, is increasing its payouts to meet the cost of living expense. And so that's an interesting development, but I hopefully we'll see sooner rather than later some sort of peace negotiation where we can get a return to normalcy and normal cost of living. And one of the issues that has been hitting Sweden this weekend was a green discussion. You had this TV debate where they brought on party 4 people to discuss how the Swedish Democrats and the Moderaterna are not enough, do not have enough of a focus on the environment. But they had an entire panel of people who are all in the same alignment of thought. And so it really wasn't a debate or a discussion. It was really just a 4-person condemnation of how the current government thinks. And the current government has said that we need to have some sort of program for the environment and protecting the environment, not damaging it. And we need to progress at a pace where we can still grow the economy. So I think that's what's missed. But that's where we are. But in that thought, there was a bike company, an electric bike company, that's being sued by the Stockholm Stad, or Stockholm City is suing a company called City Bike. They've had a number of issues, like batteries catching on fire, batteries not working, problems with the payment systems. I'm not sure what the exact problem is that Stockholm is highlighting as grounds for their lawsuit, but they are suing them. So and I only highlight this because it's an example of the problem with a lot of the green technology. It's great in idea, and the idea of reducing the amount of diesel particulate in a city is fantastic, because your exposure to diesel fumes is really bad for your immune system. Within a very short period of time, something like a week or less, and I think believe it's 3 days, you'll have a 10% reduction with your within your immune system for your insulin, and what your insulin will actually do for your body. Um, and as insulin is one of the most important chemicals you can have in your body, um, this is a serious issue. So by eliminating the fumes, that's great, and that's why that's what makes it so attractive about electrical vehicles. But at the same time, you don't want to have electrical vehicles that explode and catch on fire. And so you've had that problem with some of the lithium ion products or batteries, and now that's why this battery company out of China is developing the sodium ion, which looks to be very promising right now. We'll see what happens. But it's the point is that you do want to have these products that will protect the environment, but you need to bring them out in a controlled fashion that's not going to damage your economy. Remember, more people die in the cold than die in the heat. And so we were very fortunate to have a winter that was warm. So while people were experiencing a doubling or quadrupling of their interest rates for their house, and they had this same pricing where they had the insane electricity prices, the weather was warm enough that they could survive overall, even with the increased cost of living. So for Sweden, our markets, we're looking at higher rates coming. We will likely get much higher rates. We will continue to see tech companies laying off people. We just saw Ericsson announcing they're going to lay off 1,400 people. Remember, Ericsson is more on the networking building side and communication side. We see that the real estate companies are continuing to struggle. We haven't seen the prices bottom out yet. They're getting close, so we'll see what happens there. But the banks will continue to do well because they'll earn more money with the interest rates. So and then within the gambling, some people don't like to call them gambling. They want to call gambling and gaming. I just look at the model on the pricing, where you're unlocking in the gaming, and in the gambling you're unlocking as well when you have to add money to the pot to make your next bet, unless you've won enough that you can take from the pot that you've built up. Same thing as in the gaming. So I'm just looking at the modeling and how it's working. But if you want to call gaming stocks and you want to call gambling stocks, that doesn't bother me. Call it what you like. It's they're still the same thing in my mind. And so that's but I think also, if you're looking at the NASDAQ market, we saw the CEO of Google stepping down, and so she's resigning, and who it looks like will replace her is also a big proponent of censorship. But I think this is working within the European model. Europeans are generally pro censorship. That's why you guys still favor royalties. So for whatever reason, you like to pay your tax money to them so that they can live a good life while you get to live your regular lifestyle. You get to pay for their houses in Monaco without using them. But in the NASDAQ market, you see that Meta is now also doing the Twitter model, where they're asking people to pay to be verified. So we'll see what this does for the subscriber. And I think this is radically different from, say, something like Spotify, where you're getting access to labeling, so to speak, or licensing that you would not have otherwise. So by paying, you get the ability to have ad removal. By not paying, you have to have the ads. So it's it's a good look at the NASDAQ market, but I think will continue to be good for us to watch and follow here in the Nordics. And I'll with that, I think I'll hopefully you've subscribed, you've liked the video, and remember, there's always money to be made, whether it's short term or long term, or whether you're short stocks or long stocks. Whatever your strategy is, speak with your investment advisor, and we'll wish you a lot of success in your investing. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.